Hi everyone, and welcome to the second part of animating in Live2D. Now, in the previous video, I went into the basics of how to use the timeline and its buttons, but we're going to go further into the basics of actually how to animate with the parameters that we've set for our characters. So when you first start out, all you have to do is click on the drop down here and then click on the drop down where it says Live2D parameters, and this gives you everything that you've rigged up for your face rig. So we're going to do a very simple animation. So it pretty much works as you would imagine, like if you move your character's head up and down like this. It's kind of like what you saw in the model view originally for your face rig, but this will allow you to animate your character. So as you can see, you've got some keyframes here. On the basis of me having moved it in the location I want it to be moved, is created these keyframes. So we're going to try and create a motion for our character here. I'm going to start off with the bottom keyframe again. Feel free to click the right mouse button to snap to the key form in the parameter, and it should have made some keyframes for you right off the bat. If we move along the timeline to about 1 second, we'll have our character look up. Now I'm going to take this orange bar so that we can, I know it can be a little bit finicky, but just drag the orange bar so that it stops where the last keyframe was. So it crops out the preview for us. And we're going to preview it by pressing the play button here. As you can see, we've created our first motion. So ultimately that's pretty much the basics of how the timeline works with keyframes. It might look a little bit scary to begin with, but this is actually a very standard and very familiar timeline if you're someone who uses After Effects. But I know that some people may not be aware of the look of this timeline. We're using the keyframes to input our face rig parameters motion. This is actually how it is. It's tweened motion, and what's kind of cool about this, like I say, is that by learning how to do this, you kind of effectively learn how to use the timeline of After Effects if you ever had that software. So either way, we've got some motion going on, but I actually think that this is very slow. So to select the keyframes and move it to another location on the timeline, all you have to do is hold down the left mouse button and drag. Now, if we play back, we can see that the motion is a lot quicker now. So another feature with the animation software in Live2D is that you can adjust already established keyframes by clicking on this button here. It says adjust spacing of the selected keyframe. So if you were to select all of the keyframes you want adjusted, you can click on this button and you can lower this down in percent and apply. And as you can see, the keyframe has lowered down on the timeline. This is incredibly helpful if you have a lot of keyframes. So we're going to go ahead and animate our character. I want to kind of just have him look cute. I want to give him a little playable animation. I'm going to still lessen the time on his motion. And want him to snap up a little bit more. I'm going to scrub with this to the location of where I want the next keyframe to be. And I'm going to snap back down again. Not quite there yet. So as you can see, I tried to make like a bit of a recoil, but I might actually make it a little bit less snappy. There you go. I think sometimes it can help to see what it looks like when there's a little bit of a space of your character not doing anything on the end there. It kind of pauses the motion a little bit more at the end. So we got a little bit of a bouncy animation going on with him. So we're just going to scrub back to the very beginning of the timeline, and we're going to click on this parameter. So we got a keyframe of his eyes being open. And then around at this point, we're going to have his eyes close. So we have the motion of his eyes closing. Now it's going to play out his eyes being closed throughout unless we make another keyframe. The easiest way to make a quick transition or to extend our keyframe until we reach a certain point in the timeline is to make another keyframe, which is the eyes closed motion here. So just click on it again. So we've got another keyframe. So his eyes are going to be closed during this duration, and then around this time he's going to have his eyes open again. There you go. This might sound kind of confusing because you'd think, well, why can't I hold the keyframe? Why can't I do that? But I don't know if there's a way of doing it. This has been the easiest way to do it anyway. It's just about, as you can see, this is the keyframe where his eyes are open, and then they'll gradually close because of this keyframe here. And then because I've added another keyframe which is the same as the eye closed position, it extends the duration of the eye closed position and then the eyes open again. Okay, liking how that is so far. So we're going to move on to the parameter here for the mouth. I want his mouth to be happy, so I'm going to give him a little smile. It took me a little while to do this, but I'm very happy with how it's turned out so far. This will take some practice. I realised that it might be a bit of a hard thing for me to describe exactly the process that I'm going through, but I can only recommend, please just give it a go, and trial and error is your best friend in this case. Like, I can eventually animate something, but of course it will take a little while, and as with animation in general, it will always take a little while to get something exactly the way you want it to be. In my case, I feel like I spend maybe about 30 minutes to an hour on this. Just for a short animation, which is about, how many seconds is that? That's about maybe one second roughly of animation. But yeah, either way, I've got my set animation. We need to put the duration, we need to cut it so that we have it at the right duration we need. So put it right up next to the orange bar, but make sure that you don't go over, because as you can see, the orange bar is being dragged as well. So just make sure that you very carefully align it up with the end of the orange bar. Now we have the proper duration and the animation. Also, save your work. I think I should have done it at the beginning, but you can make yourself a animation Live2D file here. So just go, for me anyway, Jelly Animation 1. And save it wherever you want to save it. So you got a backup of it, so it will save right here. I've put it in the same Facerig file. You don't need to do that. Good practice is to have separate folders for your actual Live2D files and your animations. I'm just putting it there for now. And we're going to move on to exporting the animation right now. There are different ways we can export it. We can export it as an image, as a still image. We can export it as a GIF animation, which is, I love this. It's such a good feature to have in the software. You got something called still image sequential number. This, I presume, I've not used it, but you can save your animation into still images. You got PSD image, beta, I'm not sure what that is. I feel like it's a similar thing to this one, so it might be the reason why it's beta. I guess maybe what it does is put it into a PSD file for you in layers. I don't know, but that's a bit of a stab in the dark for me. And of course you can save it as a movie too. Yeah, you can save as an MP4 or a .mov file, which will give you a transparent background. Generally speaking, you have a choice between MP4, which will just give you probably a standard white background, and then you got .mov, which will give you a transparent background, which is always awesome. This is a pretty standard and, to be honest, kind of very straightforward movie export setting, so it's pretty neat. My favorite is using the GIF animation, so that whatever I animate I can then turn into a GIF for things like Twitter. So we're going to focus on saving this as a file for Facerig. So we need to click on File, Export for Runtime, and then Motion, Export Motion File. I don't touch any of these, leave it as is, it should be fine. Then just go on OK. And then name it how you want to name it. I called it happyjellymotionfree.json, and just click on save. And now we've got a motionfree.json file. Now make a folder and call it motions, and then drag in the Happy Jelly motion file that we just made. So it's got a dedicated file. I'm just gonna remove this so it's less confusing. Good practices is not to have your actual animation file in your Facerig folder, so don't do that. We're just gonna paste it here for now. Alright, we now have a CFG file. Now this is pretty important. But to be able to do this, you need to load up Notepad. Like literally every copy of Windows has Notepad. I'd like you to copy what I've done here. These are apostrophes, by the way, not quotations. So if you just copy this is for the special action. This is for the animation that we just done. This one here is for a future video where we'll talk about the special poses, which is the on and off toggles for your Facerig. Just copy these codes here, but obviously change this. because this is meant to be the name of your actual Facerig that you saved for your main Facerig file here. Mine's called Jelly Facerig here and here and here and here. It's its way of knowing exactly where to apply this change. Now we just need to type in the name of the motion file we just saved. In my case, mine is here and it's called Happy Jelly. So I'm going to call it, in between these apostrophes, Happy Jelly. Now the numbers on the end of every code here, if we were to just copy and make another special action, you would have to make this number 2. With this one, you have to do the same thing pretty much, but for the end number. So if we were to make another special pose, we would just copy and paste and then change the 1 into a 2. For now though, we only have a animation, so we don't need to worry about that just yet. All we have to do is save the file. Make sure that the notepad file is called cc_name of your Facerig, and you're going to have to change the file format to CFG. This is really important for it to function. There's a way to make Windows allow you to edit your file format, so do look that up. I think it is under this here. I think file name extensions show or hide the set of characters added to the end of the files that identifies the file types or format. So if you click on this on Windows, it should allow you to be able to effectively rename it and rename the format to whatever you want. I hope that was helpful either way. If you still can't find the solution as to how to change the file format, then just look it up. I think that is the way to do it. So at this point, everything is in place. So all we have to do now is copy our files for our Facerig and replace the current file that we have for the Jelly Facerig in the Facerig software files. Alright, so we now have Facerig up. We've transferred all the files to the main Facerig software files. We can now play the animation. So to trigger your animation, you need to go through your key bindings in your option settings, general option settings on Facerig, and you need to apply a shortcut. I already have it set. And once it's set, you can just press your shortcut and the animation plays. Alright, so I realised that the animation that we just done in the timeline is not quite playing out on the Facerig when I use the special action shortcut. And I think I know what the reason is. I'm going to run through what I did to fix the issue with my Facerig animation. As you can see, I've extended the animation a little bit from 1 second to roughly about 3 seconds. I've clicked on every end frame of motion and copied the keyframe and pasted it at the end of the duration. So to show you how to do that, all you have to do is click on the left mouse button to select a keyframe when it goes red like this. Then click the right mouse button and go on copy keyframes. Then scrub to the end and simply click paste keyframes. And it's there. So like I say, do that to every end frame of motion that you've done so that it aligns up with all of them at the end. After that, I looked at the eye right open parameter and I got rid of the open eye keyframe and just left it with the eye closed state. Then after that, I gave a bit of space at the beginning of the motion with no keyframes at all. Just plain nothing. Just to show you how I did that, because again, I kind of went ahead and did this. It was originally somewhere like here. It was like this before. All you have to do if you want to add some space at the beginning of your animation with no keyframes is to just drag this along to wherever you want. So just click on this little two-way arrow icon and place it where you want it to be. In this case, we want the keyframes to be pretty much at the end of our motion here, aligned with the end frames. And then we can click on the blue bar at the very end and drag it to the very beginning of the timeline. So now we've added some space in between our animation with nothing in it. I recommend about 15 milliseconds to 20 milliseconds. Now, my theory is, just to explain why it didn't work properly, Facerig has a transition time. So when you use your special action, when you play out your animation with your shortcut, it takes a certain amount of time for it to transition into the special action animation. There's no way of changing this, sadly, and I think it kind of creates limitations as far as if you wanted something fast and snappy. This is just what Facerig has programmed into their software. That there's this very slow time to transition from your original state with your Facerig to a full-on animated state using the special action shortcut. So that's just something to bear in mind when you make these animations. It may not be exactly the way you want them to be, and it's unfortunate, but it's on the basis of the fact that I think Facerig has like this, like I say, this timed transitional effect going on between your movement with your Facerig and the special action that you have for your character. So I just wanted to explain that because that is quite important. I feel like you have to do this, what we just done at the beginning here and what we just done at the end here. We need to make sure that this is a thing because otherwise it may not play out exactly the way you want it to. At least it will play out a lot better if you do this. But at the same time, it may not be exactly the way you want it to be. So there's a bit of give and take. I think if you were making less snappy motion, like say with what I've went with this one, it's very quick. I kind of wanted it to be like an instant button press and the animation would play. Sadly, like I say, that's not possible to do like a quick and snappy animation right off the bat. Now, to also explain why I don't have the eye open keyframe anymore, is because when you use Facerig, your character's eyes are going to always be open. So it made sense to me that the first keyframe of animation would be the character's eyes closing. And as a result of that, it did actually help the character's eyes close much sooner. So yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the end result of these edits that we just made. Alright, so we're in Facerig and I'm going to show you exactly what's happened here. I'm going to go ahead and press the shortcut button. And as you can see, it's now playing out a lot better. A few things to note, obviously, when you do special actions like this. If I was to continue talking while using the shortcut, the mouth stays still and it won't always pick up the motion. However, if you didn't keyframe the mouth shapes in Live2D, the mouth would actually still keep moving. You can still have your character's mouth move with your own mouth shapes on Facerig through facial recognition. But all you have to do is literally just change and keyframe the mouth form to whatever expression you want. Of course, if say for example my head is down like this and I was to play the action, it would raise its head and then it will go back down again. Even on the basis of this, you can see there's a transitional time from your Facerig motion to your animation motion, and from the animation motion to the Facerig motion. So it's something to bear in mind. I felt like it was a very important thing to get to the bottom of for this video, to kind of better explain to you the logic that is currently there for Facerig and how it works. So I hope it was helpful in understanding the creation of special actions in Facerig and how to go about it in Live2D's animation timeline. Again, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful for you guys. In the next video, we're going to be going into special poses. So these are on and off toggles for your Facerig that you can use however long you want. as opposed to Special Actions, which is a temporary animation that plays out until it reaches the end of the timeline. So those are the differences. So in the meantime, guys, see you all later. I hope to catch you in the next one, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this in future. Thank you all so much for the support, and see you next time. Bye, guys!